So let's begin with today's topic, which is connectors used in removable partial denture. To begin with, we'll first see the major connectors. Major connectors, they are defined as the part of a partial removable dental prosthesis that joins the components on one side of the arch to those on the opposite side. It's been classified depending on where it's used into maxillary and mandibular, depending on the material used into acrylic and metal, and depending on the movement of the denture base into rigid and non-rigid. So for the requirements, the major connector, it should be rigid. Rigidity is important as it allows the stresses that are applied to any part of the partial denture to be distributed over the entire supporting area. And it must avoid the impingement of the free gingival margin. For that, in case of maxillary major connector, it should be at least 6 mm away from the free gingival margin, and for the mandibular major connector, it should be at least 3 mm away from the free gingival margin. The border of the major connector should run parallel to the gingival margins. It should provide vertical support and hence protect the soft tissues. It should provide indirect retention wherever indicated. It should provide proper positioning of the denture bases wherever needed. So, next is it should be self-cleansing and not cause any kind of food entrapment. It should maintain patient comfort and should not interfere with the speech and phonation. The following factors should be considered to achieve this. The edges should be rounded and tapered towards the tissues. Border outline should be inconspicuous to the tongue and should be curved and rounded. Tooth embrasure should be used to hide the metal extensions onto the teeth from major connectors. It should be symmetrical and cross the palate in a straight line. It should not cross or cover bony prominences like tori. Now, we'll start with the maxillary major connectors. I've assemble this in a tabular form for you to remember it in an easier way. So first we'll start with the single palatal bar, and going for the design, it's a narrow half oval shaped bar with the maximum thickness at the center. It gently curves along the palatal contour with the junction smoothly joining with the denture base. It's basically it had been used for interim denture bases, and for the disadvantages we have, it's difficult for the patient to adjust, there is no support from the palate, and it can only be used to replace 1 or 2 teeth, and it cannot be used in places anterior to the second premolar as it's bulky. And its basically main uses are interim denture bases, Canary's class 3 limited to replacing 1 or 2 teeth on each side of the arch. So this is the single palatal bar. Moving ahead, second we'll go to the palatal strap. The palatal strap is a wide thin band of metal that crosses the palate. The minimum thickness of the palatal strap is about 8 mm, and it can be made wider depending upon the edentulous space. The anterior border follows the valley between rugae, and the posterior border is at right angles to the median sutural line. The strap should be minimum 8 mm wide. The advantages are it's located in 3 planes, so it provides a much greater resistance. It can be thin yet be strong. It's most widely used connector. The retention is enhanced by intimate contact. The disadvantages, however, are excessive palatal coverage and discomfort, adverse soft tissue reaction. Mainly, its indications are in the unilateral distal extension partial dentures and in tooth-supported short-span bilateral edentulous areas. So, this is the palatal strap. Going further ahead, we'll go with the anteroposterior or the double palatal bar. Its design, it contains a flat, narrow anterior bar positioned in the valleys of rugae. It consists of a half oval posterior bar. The anterior and the posterior bars are joined by flat longitudinal elements in the lateral slopes of the palate. Its advantages are it's rigid, it has less palatal coverage, offers good support, and it can be used even when the torus palatinus is present. However, for the disadvantages, it has a limited support from the palate. It cannot be used in high narrow walls, and bar thickness is uncomfortable for the patient. Its indications are basically in the patients with large inoperable tori, in Kennedy's class 2 and class 4 cases, patients who want less palatal coverage, anterior and posterior abutments are widely separated. So this is the anterior posterior palatal strap or the double palatal bar. Next, we'll go ahead with the horseshoe shaped or the U-shaped connector. Its design, it has the anterior border well supported by rest. It should be thin, wide and rigid and reproduce the anatomy of rugae. The posterior border should be in close contact with the mucosa and should not impinge on the soft tissues. The anterior portion must rest and have support from the indirect retainer. Its advantages are it can be used when the torus palatinus extends onto the soft palate. It stabilizes the weak anterior teeth. However, for the disadvantages, it provides no cross-arch stabilization, lack of rigidity, inadequate support, interference in the speech pattern, and gingival and periodontal damage. For the indications, it's basically used for the anterior teeth replacement in class 4 cases, in patients with tori and prominent mid-palatine suture, in cases where we need to stabilize the anterior teeth and an excessive vertical overlap of the anterior teeth. This is the horseshoe connector. Next, we'll have the complete palate major connector. It's anatomic replica casting supported anteriorly by rest. It contacts almost all the remaining teeth. The posterior border terminates at the junction of the hard and the soft palate. And the posterior part, it can either be acrylic, all cast metal, or a combination of both. It provides the advantages of very good rigidity and support. The remaining teeth can be stabilized. It can be used in cases of extreme residual ridge resorption cases and also in the cleft palate cases. For the disadvantages, there is extensive coverage along with the discomfort and altered taste and phonetics. For the indications, it is used in Kennedy's class 1 where the length of span is long with anterior modification. Its most important use is in the cleft palate patients with narrow steep palatal vault. For flat flabby ridges or shallow palatal vault, complete palate provide best stabilization. So the only maxillary major connector providing the best stabilization is the complete palate. Kennedy's class 1 with anterior and posterior modification spaces. This is the complete palate. So next we'll go with the closed horseshoe. Its design is in the shape of a parallelogram. The straps are relatively narrow. Lateral straps follow the contour of the palate. And for the advantages, it derives the support from the palate. Corrugated surface adds to the strength. Enhanced rigidity because of the Sokal effect. For the disadvantages, it interferes with the speech, causes discomfort and tongue annoyance because of the long borders. Indications when numerous teeth are to be replaced and torus is present. And in cases of Kennedy's class 1 and 2 with anterior tooth replacement. So now we finished with the maxillary major connectors. Going ahead with the mandibular major connectors, first we have the lingual bar. The lingual bar is a half pear shaped with its bulkiest portion located anteriorly. The superior border should be at least 4 mm inferior to the gingival margin and tapered to soft tissues. The connector should be minimum 5 mm wide. The inferior border is located at determined depth within patient's tolerance level. For the advantages, we have the simplicity in construction, minimal or no contact with the tissues, no contact with the teeth, so there is no decalcification. For the disadvantages, it cannot be used when the lingual sulcus is less than 8 mm. For the indications, it's always used unless others offer a definite advantage for a given situation, and in Kennedy's class 3 situation and its modifications. Going ahead with the lingual plate, it's the most rigid, half pear shaped with its bulkiest portion inferiorly located. The thin metal apron extends superiorly to contact the cingulum of the anterior teeth. The apron extends interproximally and has a scallop contour. The free gingival margin is relieved. For the advantages, it effectively stabilizes the anterior teeth. There is no tongue interference. and aids in indirect retention. It's more rigid than the lingual bar. For the disadvantages, we have extensive tooth coverage, decalcification of the enamel, irritation if the oral hygiene is not maintained, and the display of the metal. We have a lot many indications for the linguoplate. To begin with, when the lingual phenom is high or space availability for the lingual bar is insufficient, so in these cases we'll go for the linguoplate. For stabilizing periodontally weak teeth, in cases of Kennedy's class 1 where residual ridges have undergone excessive vertical resorption. In the case of large inoperable mandibular tori, and when the future replacement of one or more anterior teeth is predicted, addition of retention loops to the lingual plate will facilitate this. And lastly, to help prevent the supraeruption of the mandibular anteriors in retrognathic jaws by the placement of incisal rest. Okay, so now we'll move forward towards the double lingual bar. It is a half pear shaped lower bar. Upper bar is half oval, 2 to 3 mm wide and around 1 mm thick. Area between the two should be self-cleansing and both should be attached by a minor connector. The rests are given at each end of the bar. Advantages: it offers indirect retention and horizontal stabilization. Since there is no coverage of the marginal gingiva, free flow of saliva gives a very natural stimulation. However, for the disadvantages, there is food entrapment, difficulty in fitting, tongue annoyance. For the indications, it's used when a lingual plate is otherwise indicated, but axial alignment of the anterior teeth entails excessive blockout. And in cases of wide diastemas in lower anteriors and periodontal disease resulting in large interproximal embrasures. Now, going ahead with the last mandibular major connector is the labial bar. It's basically, it runs across the mucosa labial to the anterior teeth or facial to the anterior teeth. It's half pear shaped. Height and thickness is greater than the lingual bar. Superior bar located at least 4 mm inferior to the gingival margin. It offers the advantages of, it can be used when lower and anterior premolars are severely tilted towards the lingual. However, it's contraindicated as the bulky nature distorts the lower lip. There is patient discomfort. It cannot be used in cases with shallow labial vestibule. It's indicated in malposed and lingually inclined teeth, in cases of large inoperable mandibular tori, severe and abrupt lingual tissue undercuts. So as you can see, the first one is a lingual bar, the second one is the sublingual bar, the third is the continuous bar, and the fourth one is the lingual plate, and the last one is the lingual bar with the cingulum bar combined. Okay, so moving on to the last topic, the minor connectors. They are defined as the connecting link between the major connector or the base of a partial dental prosthesis and the other units of prosthesis, such as clasp assembly, indirect retainers, occlusal rest, or the cingulum rest. Now, the minor connectors offer a variety of functions listed below, like it joins the major connector with the other components. It transfers and distributes functional stresses to the abutment teeth and residual ridge. It transfers the effect of retainers, rest and stabilizing components to the remaining of the denture.